Welcome to this video about calling custom Azure AD secured APIs from Viva Connections adaptive card extensions. I'm Paolo Pialorsi and I'm a proud member of the Microsoft 365 PMP team. This is the second episode of a series of 4 videos about how to create adaptive card extensions for Microsoft Viva Connections, being able to consume a backend multi-tenant API. In this video, we will understand how we can actually consume those APIs. And with an adaptive card extension built with SharePoint Framework, we can easily do that using the AAD HTTP client object, which is available in SharePoint Framework, in any SharePoint Framework component, including the adaptive card extensions. You simply need to create an instance of the client via the AAD HTTP client factory, providing the unique URI of the API that you want to consume. Then, using the AAD HTTP client, you can do the actual consumption of the backend API as long as you configured proper permissions for your solution, which can be done configuring the Web API permission request section in the package solution.json file of your SharePoint Framework solution. And once you have the solution ready to be uploaded in the app catalog, you upload the SPPKG in the app catalog and you go to the API access page of SharePoint Online Admin UI to grant the permissions needed by your application in order to consume the backend API. Once you have done that, you can do the data binding of the results of your APIs to the UI of the adaptive card extensions, which can be done targeting the card views and, for example, configuring the content of the primary text, of the description, or of the image that you will show through the card views of your adaptive card extension. Or you can configure the binding in your quick views using the adaptive card syntax and creating whatever kind of UI you like a grid, a list, or any advanced UI scenario based on the adaptive cards syntax. So let me move to the demo environment and let me show you how to do that with adaptive card extensions. So here we have the SharePoint Framework solution in Visual Studio Code, and we can see that in the outline of the solution we have the SRC folder where we have the adaptive card extensions and specifically the list orders and the managed orders. Plus we have a services folder where we define the service to consume the backend API. Let's start having a look at the Manage Orders adaptive card extension. In that one, we have defined the interface for the properties, where we have some methods that we can use to make it possible for the cards, like card views and quick views, to access the load, add, update, and delete order methods of our adaptive card extension. Plus, we have the state where we define a property called orders, which is an array of order objects, where the order object is defined in the services and simply declare how an order is made. Then, in the onInit method of the adaptive card extension, after registering all of the cards, because remember you can have multiple card views and quick views for every single adaptive card extension, we create an instance of the AAD HTTP client object using the AAD HTTP client factory available in the context of SPFX. And we do a getClient method invocation providing the unique URI of the API that we want to consume. This will be an item registered and configured in Azure Active Directory that you will see in the episode number 4. Once we have the AD client stored in a private variable of our extension, we can then configure all of the methods in the properties and asynchronously, using a set timeout, we load the orders after half a second. The load orders method will simply rely, if there are the settings for the service-based URL, can rely on the order service object that we will see shortly, providing the AD client object and the URL of the service, and simply using a set of methods like get orders, add order, and stuff like that available through the order service API. Well, once we have the orders, we can simply set the orders property of the state in order to bind the information in the UI of our adaptive card extension. In the order service, we simply have an interface defining the methods provided by the order service itself. And as you can see, those are the create, read, update, delete, and query methods of any data access API. Then we have the constructor where we get the HTTP client and the service URL. And then we have all of the methods implemented. And for example, let's have a look to the get orders one. which is an asynchronous method returning a promise of array of order. Here we simply use the AD HTTP client object that we get through the constructor, and we make a GET request for the endpoint to get the list of orders. And if the response will be successful, we simply get the JSON and we convert it to an array of order object that we return as the result of our method invocation. And then we can configure in the package solution.json file that in the web API permission request we want to have access to the pmp.contoso.orders, which is the name of the API we are going to consume, with permission scope orders.fullControl, which is the permission scope we need to read and manage all of the orders in our backend API. Once we have done the consumption of the API, we can, for example, in the quick view, do the data binding of the list of orders in the UI. So here, in the list orders quick view, we have a iListOrder quick view data where we define again the orders property as an array of order objects. And in the data method here, we simply return the collection of orders as the content of the orders property of the state variable of our context. And then, in the JSON template of the adaptive card, we can render through data binding, the title and the subtitle, all the headers of the table that we show, and here we have a container bound to the collection of orders in the data source of our adaptive card, and for each and every order we simply render the ID of the order, the date and time of the order properly formatted, and the status with some logic to properly present the status of the order, as well as leveraging the action toggle visibility of adaptive cards syntax, we can nicely play with the chevron up and down to show or hide the panel to edit a specific order. So, really simple and straightforward. You create an AD HTTP client object, you use it to consume the backend API, and you have to remember to configure the permissions in the web API permission request. And then you simply do the data binding of your data in the UI of the adaptive cards extensions that you implemented. If you want to dig more into the topics covered in this video, here you can find some useful resources, like for example the source code of the end-to-end reference solution that we are using, an overview of Viva Connections, a tutorial about how to build SharePoint adaptive card extensions, as well as an introduction to developing card views and quick views using SPFX. That said, thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting, and let's see you again in one of the upcoming episodes of this series of videos about building Microsoft Viva Connections adaptive card extensions consuming backend multi-tenant APIs.